Okay, for breakfast this morning, I have a duck egg, chicken egg, and a guinea egg. And also, I want to mention something about the Celtic people. This is out of Indian Trails of the Warrior Mountains by Ricky Butchwalker and Lamar Marshall. And what's interesting is they did a history of how the Celtic people and culture came into these tribes here. I remember uh, reading in Lewis and Clark Journal how Thomas Jefferson asked them to pay attention to the Welsh Indians, and there's this history of the Welsh Indians here in America, the Welsh tribe, and George Catlin even wrote about them when he went across America doing his paintings. The famous painter George Catlin after the Lewis and Clark journeys, and so there was always this um, intermarriage of these early people. And so here's something I just want to briefly read parts of this. The Celtic were the primary traders to the Indian people of North Alabama, beginning in the late 1600s and continuing until the Turkeytown Treaty of 1816, which took the remaining Lawrence County lands from the Cherokee and Chickasaw ownership. The south quarter of our county was taken from the Creeks by the Treaty of the Fort Jackson in 1814. The Celtic traders utilized a system of Indian roads, trails, paths leading from the village to village. The following experts from William Lindsay McDonald's 1979 describes this Caucasian event among the tribes here in this area. But let me read this part. Celtic people tried to escape the English and moved as family clans from the colonies into and over the Appalachians. They began to settle in the Indian nations of the Cherokee, Chickasaw, and Creeks from East Tennessee, Northwest Georgia, and Northern Alabama. Through these contacts, intermarriages became a natural process of blending with the native people. In the Creek, Chickasaw, and Cherokee societies of North Alabama, interracial marriages of Celtic men and Indian women were commonly acceptable. By 1800, this was evidenced in tribal leadership. All these tribes were controlled by half-Scotch chiefs. John Watts Jr., chief of the Cherokee Nation, was half Scotch and half Cherokee. George Colbert and his brother Levi Colbert, chiefs of the Chickasaw Nation, were half Scotch and half Chickasaw. Alexander McGillivray, chief of the Creek Nation, was half Scotch, 1/4 French, and 1/4 Creek. Therefore, our local Indian societies accepted and many times promoted interracial marriages due to the advantages which were reaped in trade and treaty negotiations. And so here you have a history of the Celtic and the Scotch intermarrying into these tribes here in this area, predating the 1800 time period, all the way going back to the colonial period. But even before that, there was this story of Prince Modoc coming here. I think that was in the 1400s, if I'm not mistaken. And then the remnants of the Welsh Indians were something that was written about, observed, and reported by Lewis and Clark. George Catlin, Thomas Jefferson knew about these Welsh Indians. And not only was Chickasaw society impacted by Celtic intermarriages, but also Cherokee lifestyles were rapidly changing because of the influx of Celtic blood. Doublehead's older sister married John Watts, who was Scottish, and from this marriage came two notable mixed ancestry Celtic Cherokee people. As stated earlier, their son John Watts Jr. became chief of the Cherokee Nation. Also, their daughter Watts married trader John Binge, who was Scottish, and Nathaniel Gist. In 1776, George Gist, or Sequoia, was born from the marriage of Werta Watts and Nathaniel Gist. Werta became the mother of one of the most famous Indian people in the United States, Sequoia. And so there you have it. I just wanted to mention that this morning. Today I'm going to go fishing on Black Ground Mountain here, and been up here for a while. It's just a area, and during the winter, I am told, from the top of this mountain, when the trees are not on the leaves, you have this scenery that you can see for miles. And of course, one of the videos showing that video of looking back at the far distance, you can see that nuclear tower that's over there by Doubleheads Village. So you have a better aerial view from top of this mountain during the winter when the leaves are not on the trees. But I just wanted to mention, because this is part of Native history that is overlooked, and sometimes it's not honestly reported about the intermarriages of these early Celtic and Welsh people into the tribes. And there's a lot of Native history that's been overlooked, which is one of the other parts of Native history is, of course, the Christian heritage, which I've been mentioning a lot in these videos. And that's something that's an important part of Native history. And Charles Eastman wrote about that when there was that reservation system established and the tribes started going into the reservation system, they changed a lot of their traditions, and it was mixed with Catholic chants and so forth. And so it wasn't what you found originally in the wilderness and on the plains when the tribes were free people out west. And I remember reading an account of these chiefs that were and warriors that were on the old way before the reservation system, and when they came into the reservation system, they gave up a lot of their attires, their dress attires, and their customs, because they said that was made for and to represent a free people out on the prairies and out in the wilderness, in the woods. But on the reservation, it wasn't made for living on a reservation. So the reservation period and time frame changed a lot of the custom and practices of the natives, and a lot of the old ones gave up of their practice of certain and the way they dress, because that lifestyle was for the free living out on the prairies and in the wilderness and woods. And so today we're going to go fishing, and I'm going to do a video of us catching some fish. Hopefully, we tried to fish last night. I didn't catch anything. The wind, it's been really windy here on the mountain, and it's been raining all day yesterday. It rained. It's a clear day today, but the wind is a bit chilly. It's supposed to stay in the high 60s, I think, today. And so we'll see what happens, and hopefully we'll catch some fish and have fish for dinner tonight.